Back when we had our first channel, Mel K would be in the chat and she would be adding to what I was saying or correcting me if I was wrong. I'm not saying that she would recommend me to her friends, but when some channel's getting 300,000 to 600,000 views for a video, you pay attention. Whether they're good guys or bad guys. I always consider myself a good guy. I hope Mel K did too. But she is by far one of the most intelligent people in the patriot movement. And this is just the icing on the cake of the information that she shared with you here in the last 2 days.
Joined today by Mel K. Mel K is, of course, laser focused on educating and informing the public about geopolitical forces that are working to implement top-down global governance. Her new book, Americans Anonymous, is a blueprint for empowering people to take their country back. It's available at themelkshow.com or on Amazon. You can follow her on Rumble at The Mel K Show. And again, that's melkshow.com, the book, Americans Anonymous. Thank you so much for joining us, Mel.
Thank you for having me. What a time to be watching this chaos.
Yeah, that's I could use your help just even wrapping my mind around this, Mel. I mean, this morning it just really hit me seeing the protests, the violent riots in multiple cities across the United States, Chicago, California, Washington, New York, I mean, everywhere breaking out. It's only getting bigger. Knowing how this is funded, I mean, I don't even feel like arguing against this anymore. I think we're just in the early stages of a civil war. Where do you stand on what's happening right now?
Well, I feel that way. The most frustrating thing is that I've been covering the white-collar crimes behind these uprisings for decades, and I've watched it and I've seen it here and around the world. This is not a new process. This is a replay of the color revolution. Actually, it's never ended since 2016 when Trump accidentally won in 2016. From that day forward, we were in a color revolution. They had a whole meeting. All the globalist financiers of the entire left machine met down there in Florida. They presented their Democracy Matters playbook. That was Norm Eisen of Crew at the time, David Brock of Media Matters, all these giant donors, the Reid Hoffmans, the Open Society, and they have been running a color revolution this whole time with stops and starts. When they're winning or they're gaslighting the world, you know, it's great. When it's not, they're going to blow up the whole country. This is not new. Again, I believe that this all goes back to the international banking cartel and the capture of certain areas, if not all of our country, by that. And again, California has been captured basically its own country for a very long time, and we haven't been enforcing federal law there when it comes to immigration because the people that are in place are there to block that. But they're using all these people. This has nothing to do with caring about immigrants or illegal immigrants or any of that. This has to do with destroying America from within because it could never be done from the outside. People aren't going to come here and fight kinetic war from foreign countries on our soil, but they can certainly finance them to do it inside. And that is what we're dealing with right now. And frankly, I don't know why Mayorkas, Samantha Power, some of these other people that were obviously behind this, funding this, also that Amy Pope that was in the Obama administration, then was working for the UN during the open borders 4 years. All these people should be out there with the American people seeing their faces and hearing their names.
Yeah, and of course, you make a good point that, you know, if you're going to destroy America, you got to do it from the inside. But that also opens up a major vulnerability because I can very clearly see, you know, this getting out of hand, Trump, you know, waiting too long to do something about this, deploying National Guard, deploying troops in American soil. And I can see the UN coming out and saying, oh, well, we might have to get involved in this. I could see the outside forces. I mean, if we get into a true civil war situation or this violence continues to escalate, that's the opportunity that outside forces would need. That would lower our defenses and weaken us to a point where we would be vulnerable to outside forces coming in. And I guarantee you, and you know as well as I do, the left would welcome that and you know, beg for Chinese troops to come help free the poor, you know, belabored minorities in America from big bad white supremacist Trump. I mean, I can see this going down a very dangerous road that does make us vulnerable to outside influence.
Well, we have to understand that the regime change playbook uses a fraudulent responsibility to protect, which is a UN kind of Soros embedded. Samantha Power used it obviously in Libya and elsewhere. The responsibility to protect is kind of this United Nations idea that when it gets too insane and too crazy, the good folks over at the United Nations are the ones to answer the call. Well, I mean, if that happened, then there's like really nothing else that could save us from a civil war. The truth is that this is what they've done. This is the regime change playbook. Nothing is new. It's all been done before. We are seeing something very similar to the Bolshevik Revolution, the same money funding everything. I really believe if the American people understood the actual history post-World War II of the looting and the destruction of the middle class, the getting rid of all of our prosperity, sending everything overseas, and the long-term game plan of ending national sovereignty, not just for America, but for the world, they would be absolutely furious that they were never taught this in school. But we have allowed this to continue for now, 75 years of fraud. And it's going to be hard to get out. There really is no way other than to hit it head on. People say, well, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? That is not the choice anymore. The choice is to stand up, stand proud, use the Constitution, not just as a paper on the wall, but to use it to stop this. There's plenty of ways the Constitution can be used, but to not see any of the white collar criminals, any of the NGOs, any of this being brought to light by the mainstream media, being put in front of the entire country to be asked about their participation in regime change. And particularly Samantha Power should be called in front of the entire world to talk about the trillions of dollars through USAID that have gone around, particularly under her when she was at Obama as the UN secretary, and then also as the head of USAID. So until we name names and know who the people within America are that have set up this situation, the American people are going to just be lied to over and over and think this is about illegal immigration. No, illegal immigration was about setting this up. It's the opposite of what it looks like.
That is a great way to put it. Yeah, this isn't about illegal immigration. Illegal immigration was about achieving this end. I think that's absolutely right. And again, I'm just overwhelmed at the idea that this is breaking out in every major American city and with no end in sight. I mean, it's different than Black Lives Matter. Say what you want about Black Lives Matter. They had demands that they wanted to achieve, and there was sort of, even in the height of the violence and chaos, it was just, okay, this is violence and chaos. They sort of need to get it out of their system, and then you'll have these cities, capitulate to them and get rid of their certain aspects of their police department or downsize them in some way. And they were making demands and saying, we're rioting until we get what we want. In this case, I mean, what do these people want? They want the federal government not to enforce laws anymore? Like, what are the demands they're making? What is the end to this? And I think it's regime change. And when you really think about what that means an overthrowing of our entire system and the implementation of a different system, which in this case, if they win, will be socialism, and you'll see the purges that inevitably ensue after the implementation of socialism. So, I mean, what end could there be, other than total victory or total defeat in the conflict that's currently brewing?
Well, that's the problem with not understanding and not having the mainstream media, or at least our DOJ and FBI and everyone naming names about who's really involved here. Because when you say regime change, don't forget, regime change has always been about keeping the global, what I call the international banking cartel, in control of all of our countries. And Donald Trump was the biggest threat to that in 2016. He's back. He's an even bigger threat because more people are supporting him and getting that. But again, we have to understand that this is highly funded. There are playbooks right on Brookings, right on Norm Eisen's Democracy Defenders and States United and all the same usual suspects. Again, much of this goes back to covering up the crimes of 2016 through 2020, which included treason, sedition, conspiracy to defraud the people of the United States of America. Like, why haven't the 51 agents that were involved in the lie of the Hunter Biden laptop been indicted for conspiracy to commit fraud on the people of the United States before federal election? There's just a lot of things that aren't happening, and I understand they're focusing, and I love that they're focusing on, child trafficking and getting rid of the illegals and all of that. But we have serious, very high-level globalists that have taken over our country at the highest level that it appears to me the blob, the intelligence apparatus that was created after 9/11, then weaponized upon us, then tripled down weaponized only against the opposition to Obama and his global communism, that whole model is not working for the United States of America. I also don't really fully understand who the CIA works for at this point, because it certainly isn't us. And then the State Department that Marco Rubio's clearing out has been involved in all these regime changes until now. There's a lot of evidence that could be presented to the people of the United States that are reasonable, honest people that just want the government to do their job and leave them alone to explain why this is happening. This is also about the Cloward Piven strategy to collapse all social net safety nets, all of that. And then, of course, the end game is for us to beg for the global public infrastructure, for the track and trace surveillance, for the technocracy to come save us. And then, bam, we're right in Zig Brzezinski and Kissinger's plan from the beginning. So if we are not very clear on the end goal here, and I know a lot of people are upset about Palantir and all of this stuff, but the truth is, this is the end goal for the globalist, is to put us on a technocracy model that is full totalitarian with their fraudulent 17 development goals, which are all about tokenizing everything, track and trace surveillance from birth to death, controlling everything from natural resources to wildlife. I mean, it is a bigger plan, and we're all on the same side, which is so crazy to me that people are out there. And then the worst part is I spent 22 years in Hollywood to see the same people that came out and never apologized for pushing the vaccine, for pushing the Ukraine war, particularly the globalists, Katy Perry, Eva Longoria, Kim Kardashian, coming out and crying about the immigrants. They're not saying illegal immigrants. They're not saying these people had laws on the books that they could have followed to come here. They're not saying that they all knew, especially in the last 3 months of Joe Biden's auto pen presidency, that he was not there and probably never there. So again, we have Hollywood leading the way, never have apologized for anything they've done before. So it really is a disaster in messaging and us not taking back the narrative. Thank God for InfoWars and Redacted and some of these other shows. But frankly, the mainstream media is complicit in everything that's happening because the United States citizens have no idea anything about our history at this point and how we got here and what they're trying to maintain, which is global financial control over all nations. This is why they meet at Bilderberg or Davos or COP conferences, because they run the world from regional conferences. Then they pick the people like Gavin Newsom and Pelosi and all these people that really work for the globalists, and the American people know nothing about it.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been saying forever, is that the World Economic Forum, for all intents and purposes, is a global government. I mean, you got the leaders of industry and countries coming together in secret to have a Congress, right? That's what Congress means. It just means a congregation, a meeting. They go and they meet and they establish priorities and they establish policies, and then they all are dispensed to their localities to enforce those decisions. So I mean, that is a government by any definition. Yeah. It's just sort of informal. And I just wonder, I mean, as you're pointing out, I mean, from COVID to the Russia collusion to the laptop from hell, the Hunter Biden laptop, there are so many examples of egregious, blatant crimes being committed by people that we know their names, we know how they did it, we know everything about it. What is it going to take to get the administration to take this seriously? I played a video yesterday. They talk, where Trump is saying that he wanted Gavin Newsom arrested, right? They're like, they say you should arrest Gavin Newsom, and Trump's like, I think it's a good idea. And he's like, Gavin Newsom is a good guy. He's just not very good at his job. And, look at the train. The train wasn't very efficient. And it's like, what the hell? No, he's in a state of rebellion against you. He is like leading forces fighting the federal government. And Trump is like, he's a nice guy, but his train is silly. And it's like, what is it going to take to get our elected representatives to take it? They shot a bullet through his ear, and he still doesn't seem to understand the stakes here. What is it going to take, Mel, to get these people to do something on our behalf so we don't have to?
Well, even scarier is I watch these people. I know how they work, especially the four horsemen of lawfare: Eisen, Elias, Weissman, McCord, these people. Do you think that they're not, while this distraction, which is essentially what this is happening, that they're not planning to impeach Trump, to go after Trump? They've been planning this since April of last year. So, I mean, they were all the lawfare people that's coming out of Brookings and all the NGOs and Democracy Alliance is funding all these lawsuits, and we're not looking at them. Why aren't they going into Brookings and finding out about all the lawfare that has been coming through there. Obviously, Trump brought up Lisa Monaco yesterday, so he's very well aware of the lawfare crew, who they are and what they're doing. Well, right now, they're working in the shadows because they have always been the regime change people. They're the people that have gone around the world, whether it was from the Czech Republic to Yugoslavia to Libya. It's the same group of people. This goes back all the way to the Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg. These are all about reunifying the United States, nation state, with Europe. Okay, we fought a war in 1776. We apparently won a war, and yet we've gone back to Europe twice to fight for them, to save them from themselves. And frankly, it is all about the global financial structure set up out of the Bank of International Settlements with the World Bank, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, all the NGOs underneath that are right now running the world and are running this operation in America. Because if they cannot get people to continue down the path of the Bank of International Settlements opaque control of our Federal Reserve and all banks in the world, then they're going to just take out the country. This has happened time and again, and we are living through it in America. And the American people are not seeing any of the real perpetrators because they happen to be lawyers. They happen to be people that are in these high-level NGOs, like I mentioned, and none of those people ever get called out in the public. People don't even know who they are. I mean, how can it be that the truest enemies within that really work for this globalist financial entity that is, I believe even the World Economic Forum is more like a PR firm for these people. It's the global public-private partnership that has captured our nation. And no one in America that is watching this understands that this is about financial control, looting of America, funneling our money to the IMF and the World Bank over climate emergencies and helping struggling countries that never get helped. The American people, if they understood that we've been paying for this, we've been looted and lied to, the middle class decimated that built this country for the good of the global financial system.
And that is the key part there, is the fact that we've been paying for it. I mean, maybe it's just another level of absurdity that we allow this to go on. And then you take a look at it and you go, wait, this is all being funded by billions of dollars of taxpayer money funded into these organizations. And I wonder how much the Doge cuts at USAID have at least put a damper on this, but clearly they're moving forward. And we played a clip from you on Tim Pool yesterday, and you mentioned a few times here. Let's get into the post-World War II monetary establishment and the way that has been used. And what do you think the next phase is? Because World War I, we saw the establishment of the League of Nations. World War II was the UN and the Marshall Plan and the Bretton Woods, and all of this stuff got established. And it seems like now, in a variety of different ways, they are getting ready. They're gearing up to do World War III, which will be the final one. They'll get the capstone, keystone establishment of a global government, global religion, all this sort of stuff. Where does this end? Where does it go? How have they used the post-World War II landscape to set the stage for the globalist takeover?
Well, I think first we have to understand how involved Wall Street and the banking cartel and all the people that came in and stole our country with the Federal Reserve and the income tax, all of that. So the American people don't know much about that. They, no matter how many times you or Alex or me or anyone else tries to explain that we have been looted and lied to consistently before World War I, first of all. Second of all, both wars, like you said, were to create a one world religion, one world government, one world monetary system after the war. The Reconstruction is the reason for the wars. This goes back to Smedley Butler talking about all wars are bankers' wars, and it's a total con job. And that is exactly what they're doing right now. They already have an $800 billion reconstruction fund with BlackRock and JP Morgan for Ukraine, which is, how are they estimating that anyway? But what we need to know is that the German Marshall Fund was a total fraud on the people of the United States of America. What it paid for was the creation of the EU and the euro, which is obviously the financial mechanism that they hope to use. But nobody even knows what the Third Reich was about, which was a unified Europe without a Russia and running out of Brussels, the world. And where are we now? Also, the Bank of International Settlements needs to be looked at. Okay, it's had immunity this whole time. Obviously, there was an American running it during World War II that was working with American bankers, that was working with all these international multinational corporations. Chuck Grassley, just in February, wants to know about Credit Suisse. The people investigating Credit Suisse now for what happened between 44 and 48 in Bank of International Settlements, the IMF, World Bank, the creation of all that, is being looked into. And UBS put out a statement that when this report comes out in 2026, our entire understanding of World War II and post-World War II financial instruments will be blown up. Okay. So we should start doing that now. If the people investigating it that Grassley's working with, that Malay in Argentina is working with, that we have people over there investigating because Credit Suisse is a big problem. And now we also want to know, because people are suggesting that the Bank of International Settlements, which somehow has sovereign immunity, runs our Fed, our 12 Fed governors go over there for world banking advice every few months. And the bottom line is nobody knows what they have, what they're sitting on. And apparently it's not just everything that was looted from Germany. It's money that was looted from Holland and Paris and everywhere that they went into. Lithuania, all these places people don't even know. So what we do need to know is, what is the Bank of International Settlements? What kind of control do they have? And what was Alan Dulles and the CIA's relationship with them, that when Dulles came here and him and his brother started the CIA in America, who were they working for from the beginning? Because Dulles was in Switzerland, working with the Bank of International Settlements, working with the neutral spies the whole time in Switzerland, while money was coming in from the Third Reich to be hidden for the future to start a Fourth Reich. So, I mean, all of this is documented. There's been many books written about it. It's just they never tell our children because the same criminals are still running the world.
Absolutely. And of course, it was Wall Street that funded the Bolshevik Revolution to a large degree. And then it was the Lend-Lease program that basically built the entire economy for the Soviets. I mean, this has all been a play the whole time, right? You create the enemy, you go after it, and they're still doing the same thing with Russia. There's no reason, in my opinion, why Russia should be this interminable enemy of ours that we can never, have any peace with, especially when you consider the fact that they would be the most important ally ever when the inevitable, conflict with China breaks out. Wouldn't it be nice to have a European state looming over China the way Russia is? Instead, we're doing everything we can to push them towards Russia. One thing I think that's important to make the case for, and I wonder if you can do it in the 2 minutes we have left before the break, but we'll talk more on the other side. It's not about money, right? The money is the tool, the money is the weapon, but I feel like a lot of people, they get to, it's about money, and that's where it stops. And that's where you get the socialists just going, if we just give out more money, then we'd all be happy and free. And it's like, it's not about money. They've got infinite money. They aren't concerned with making more money. What is it really about, Mel?
I think that it's really about capturing all natural resources on planet Earth and then tokenizing it and doling that out. You own nothing and be happy is the end game. All we have to do is go back to Brzezinski and Kissinger and obviously Rockefeller and the Crown and all the plans that they wrote in their own books. Right. It is about efficiency. It is about top-down control. They have the technology now. Noah Harari says it on stage at the World Economic Forum, and you see Kerry and Leo in the front row stepping and clapping and being so excited about the future. Efficient technocracy running the world. The problem for the entire world right now is the United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, and our national sovereignty. All they want is for America to give up, say, you know what, just make it stop, the order out of chaos. The money is about controlling the chaos. The money is about choosing endless wars. All of these things go back to the top. So once we start to understand that it's, like you said, not about money, it's about power and control on the highest level. Now, they already built the global public infrastructure, which is a global project out of the World Economic Forum, Bilderberg, all those groups that spans the entire planet, okay? What they have in China is easy to flip a switch if the American Constitution and Bill of Rights is destroyed. Yeah. If we give up our sovereignty, they win. So right now, America is standing for freedom, liberty, property, privacy, and everything else. And we have to go back and learn the past, because what we also have is a whole bunch of Democrats, socialists of America in
trying to destroy us. Stay there. More with Mel K on the other side.
Have you taken that methylene blue yet?
Yeah.
I like it.
I really like it. I'm going to have to get on this stuff.
Here, show her Kennedy taking it. Kennedy literally gobbles.
When RFK Jr. mixes something into his drink, people pay.
I have some very exciting news.
What we really need to do is to put a pause.
Show.com, and her new book, which is available on themelkshow.com or on Amazon, is called Americans Anonymous. That's Americans Anonymous by Mel K. Mel, just I realize you have to leave soon, so just as a final note, what do you think Trump should be doing right now? Just in a fantasy world where you wake up as supreme leader of the United States, what are your first orders to try to set things right and get us back on track?
Well, it's not going to make everyone happy, but the first and foremost thing I would do is pull out of NATO. Frankly, we should not go in and fight another war for Europe. We've already done it twice. This was not supposed to be what America was. At least very much pull back money from NATO because we are funding that. I don't want World War III, particularly a nuclear war. Right. But it seems to me that that's the end goal so that they can reorganize after like they always do and reconstruct another financial coup on the whole world again. Also, 501c3, 501c4 should be eliminated. Also, we need to realize that the NGOs, a lot of them have immunity, like foreign countries. What we really need to do is to put a pause on NGO funding, on NGO grants. They are not non-government organizations. Should mean no government money. And since they're funded by billionaires, that is the biggest problem in the world right now, particularly the Open Society and the funnels that go through the Arabella partners. More than that, we have a lot of white-collar criminals right now that could easily be indicted. I don't know why we don't start with indicting the white-collar criminals. Look at Act Blue sitting out there doing nothing. And again, I think what Trump's doing with the universities is really important because they're giving PhDs in color revolutions at Harvard and other places. They're not teaching anything. These people are getting authority and documents saying that they are, the brain trust of America. And frankly, they are being raised to be anti-American. So I think he's doing a lot of things. What he has to do is stop caring. Stop caring about the optics that got us in trouble the first time. Stop putting Pam Bondi on Fox News and start putting her in Congress in front of everyone, telling people who the criminals are within our country so people can identify them. This idea that, it's the FBI or CIA, like Hannah Arendt said during Nuremberg, if everyone's guilty, nobody is guilty. Tell me the names. And we are at a place where there are a lot of names that could be out there for people to look into that would start them thinking. Again, they are telling everyone like Jasmine Crockett is out there and Hakeem Jeffries, like, who cares about 2016? Who cares about post-World War II lies? Who cares about the UN? You know what? I do. And if the American people knew this, we would unite faster than anything else, knowing that we have been lied to and looted for the last 75 years to our own demise, and that these people do not care about us. Our taxpayer dollars are not going to save America, rebuild America. They're going to the IMF and the World Bank to continue down the path of controlling every nation from the very top, and then, of course, always the banking institutions. So it's time for America to grow up, learn our real history, which is what Americans Anonymous is about. The problem in America right now is the American citizens that are not standing up, that are not doing their due diligence on how we got here and getting it out to their friends and neighbors and joining together to say no more. No more in our name, no more with our money. We want to solidify back to the founding documents, the founding principles. Go read George Washington's farewell letter. We made every mistake he warned about. Well, we can reverse track as long as we still have the Constitution. But if these people slither back in 2026, you can say goodbye to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and frankly, freedom. So at this point, it is do or die, and it's not for 4 years, and it's got nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has to do with American sovereignty, American history, and going back to what we established, which has been completely, through schizophrenic mind control, has been completely lost in this whole struggle. We have the Constitution right now, but if we're not using it, it's our own fault.
100% powerful stuff as always. Mel K, thank you so much for joining us. Incredible stuff. The Mel K Show on Rumble. TheMelKShow.com is the website. The book, Americans Anonymous. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we'll do it again very soon.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.